Stood only a few feet away from some of the greatest athletes of all time. My family tradition is not some ancient ritual, given that it only started a few years ago. In Palm Desert, California, every year, my family and I like to go to one of the biggest professional tennis tournaments in the world to watch some of the best players play, and watch some of the best players I've been watching since I was 5. And I know what you're thinking, tennis, that's really cool. Yeah. It's okay, take it from me, I've been playing tennis since I was 5, and no one's genuine response when I tell them that I've been playing tennis for my whole life is, that's impressive. But anyway, every year March rolls around, reservations for hotels build up for Indian Wells, the chaos ensues, and every hotel within a 45-minute radius of this tournament fills up immediately. So what does our family do? We wait until the last minute, scroll through Groupon, try to find the last available hotel that doesn't resemble an abandoned hospital. And so, as the Saturday comes where we depart to Indian Wells, we leave early one Saturday morning. Us and thousands of others squeeze through the gates of Indian Wells, walk in, and see the 2 huge tennis stadiums in the back, the arc of smaller ones around it, practice courts, and all in the middle of that is all the tennis shops, statues and posters of our favorite players, every street vendor, everything you can imagine that would fulfill a tennis nerd's dream. So a couple hours later, it's the middle of the day, we're in the middle of the desert, so it's a nice cool 120 degrees, and my parents and I decide to transition from watching big matches on the stadiums to watching the pros play on the practice courts. So we walk over, and I squeeze myself amongst the 5-year-olds excited on the hot concrete to see my favorite players up close, and out walks Roger Federer himself, the greatest tennis player of all time, on practice court 1, nearly 10 feet away from me, from here to that wall, and the whole crowd erupts. About a few hundred people have formed around this tiny little practice court in the back of Indian Wells, screaming like they're at the Super Bowl game. And so he walks out, we watch him practice for an hour or two, and when they're finished, as they usually do, they come and sign autographs. And luckily enough, I was in a good spot to get one, right alongside the fence. So he walks straight towards me, my idol since I was 5. But what happens is, as he walks towards the fence, about 100 other people squeeze up against me, squeeze me against the fence, and he gives autographs to the little boys and girls around me, the old people, the people in wheelchairs, anyone but me. So the cycle of me trying to get autographs continues for 3 days, and eventually we make the depressing ride home. But overall, our family tradition is one that I cherish every year. It's one that I look forward to 6 months before it happens and can look back on 6 months after it happens. Hopefully my family tradition can make you reminisce and appreciate in yours a little bit more. Thank you.